Hello my fellow gamers and welcome once again to Perafilozof City Skylines videos. If you remember from the previous episodes, I've been building up a city which I plan to reach 1 million population in this map. Now at the moment I've reached 301,000, although I am in a decline, so I might end up below 300,000 population in a few seconds, but very soon I think this will go back up again. I'm going up and down depending on how many jobs I have available, how much unemployment there is in the city, and how many seniors and children, teens, adults I have. So at the moment I seem to be losing population because of the fact that I have just not made enough jobs and have unemployment. This is something I am rectifying at the moment by building a new area. Over here the first one has been completed. You can see here how it looks like. Industry, commercial, offices, three lines of 4x4 residential, then again offices, commercial, industry, and so on and so forth, and all the way to the end, with the services being in the middle, clinic and a crematorium every now and then there are some fire stations and police HQs around here as well, one next to the other, covering the entire area. There are no schools because the schools are switched over for the Hadron Collider. It takes a while for the population to reach a high percentage of highly educated because all the newest sims have their own education levels. Some of them are uneducated, some are educated, some are well educated, and then they take a while to become highly educated once again and get this number above 90%. It almost never reaches 100 because the population is in a constant change. So that is why I usually have above 80% up to about 90% when it comes to the population. While the city was growing, there were a lot of cars going in and out of these highways, so I had to do some remodeling here. I made one off-ramp from the highway that is bringing in the teams on the right side. That off-ramp leads to the inner city's highway, which takes the traffic up towards the city, and then they seem to have a reason to sometimes go out from the city by the ramps that lead the traffic over here to this outer highway. Then from here they go over here, pass into this middle one, then they were finding a way over here, and then the problem was that they were cutting through this traffic in order to get to this lane and to this highway in order to go back and go up this way. So what I did was to raise this middle one and add a highway ramp below so that they could go straight away from this highway into this one, and then from here they go through this highway ramp and go here. So I have two highway ramps connecting to a highway here that leads the traffic inside, and it seems to keep the traffic flowing quite nicely. The parts of the city that are still being built are still empty here because there just isn't enough demand for residential zones, as there isn't any new jobs for them. The unemployment is still high. That's why I've switched over here and have now built two lines of commercial, a line of offices, and this line of industry, which seems to be requiring more workers, which is interesting considering that there are unemployment. But if you look at their level, they are all kinds of levels except the ones that are at level 3. They do not seem to require any more workers. So it's level 2s and level 1s that create this problem. When it comes to the actual export or import of goods, I'm actually exporting a lot of goods, and I am not even using, I think, any places with additional policies to increase the amount of goods produced. I did although switch this area, which was offices, into industry, because at one point I was running low on goods, so I decided to switch the offices. They were only at level 2 here anyway, so they weren't employing a lot of teams, and as you can see now that I've switched over to generic industry, they've actually made it up to level 3 mostly, so it's better that way. They not only produce goods but employ more teams. So as you can see, I do have a demand for industry, I do have a demand for commercial buildings, so over here I am planning on expanding more commercial, and then once these are built I will build more. Now you will notice that some of these zones do have some space in between that has been left over. you can see that the problem is in the ground and the hills and valleys here, so it was unavoidable. I did manage to connect everything through here nicely, and I do believe it's time to add some of these services here. Well, these parts do have still good coverage, so I might leave the services down to be placed down there. As for the fire station and the police station, you can see that these buildings are red when it comes to their status by being covered by fire station. The problem is that over here I have only the small firehouse, and so now I'm going to get rid of it and actually use a firehouse in here. Although this is a residential area, I would much rather have it in an industrial or office area. But then again, I do not seem to have a demand for residential anyway, so I might as well fit it in here. Yeah, I'll do that. So now this building should be able to cover in between the areas of effect of these buildings here, enough coverage, and you can see these buildings, the industry is now green and not red anymore. There are, which is interesting, some buildings here that do keep to being red. You can see these here. Not exactly sure what's up with that. It happens all over the city. Yeah, you can see here some of them are again red, and you can see these here also red. Not really sure what's up with that. Must be some kind of overlay problem between the different buildings, the fire buildings, the fire departments that just do not seem to cover those buildings. Okay, these have expanded, so I can expand this area as well. Now the population did drop below 300,000, yes, and so did the unemployment because I have fewer Sims. The number of deceased is going up. It was around 600 when we started the video, now it's over 800, so we are definitely in a death wave. And while I'm talking about that, let's take a look at the statistics. You can see here that I've had those two, well, I had that massive drop-off, and while I was repairing the city I had two more drop-offs, and since then only small ones. And you can see a good increase here in the population going above 300,000. You can see that the influx is still wildly oscillating, going up and down, and so are the birth rates and the death rate. The death rate is a little bit better than it used to be. You can see that there's smaller peaks now, which means that the city is more stable. You can see that the employment continuously varies, going up and down, and that is connected to the variation between the population and the available jobs. You can see that I've been steadily increasing the number of commercial zones after that long time of stability. Same with the industry and with the offices, everything is on the rise. The happiness, one of my subscribers asked me to take a look at the happiness. Now you can see that when you take a look at the city, pretty much all buildings have this bright blue color, meaning that the people living here are happy, as you can see here by this legend. Now the only problem is the industry here, which doesn't have workers, so they're not happy. The commercial is the lowest happy in my city. The residential is at 88, commercial at 74, offices 94, and industry at 91. I'm not exactly sure what's up with that. It could be because of the taxes. I do have high taxes for commercial at 13%, and it's the highest tax in the city. I was trying to use higher taxes on the industry and on the offices, but as I will show you in a moment, they do not like it. There are gonna be pop-ups saying the taxes are too high after a few moments that I increase the tax. In this area I'm also using the tax relief, or am I not? I'm not actually. I need to use the tax relief for high density in order to have, whoops, that's the tax raise. The tax relief for high density in order to have these teams like this area more, and you can see that some of them are already moving in. I seem to be going up with the population as my unemployment has dropped, although I do think yeah, and the death wave also seems to have passed, and the number of deceased is starting to go down. So you can see that some of the new houses are being built, and even in the district over here where I have the tax raise, for high density residential, but over here where I have the lower tax, they will fill up these areas sooner rather than those there where I have the tax raise. Now the commercial also seems to have had a nice increase in the size of these zones. I can fill everything up. Now I'm trying to use about 5 zones of 4 by 4 before I use a cross street. The difference is the place where I start and how much space do I take, because as you can see here I took a few more zones before I made the actual off-ramp, while and the on-ramp for the highway. Well, over here I used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these zones and then made an on-ramp. I decided that there should be an on-ramp a little bit closer to the end of the map, so in here I did it a little bit different than over here, which means that in order to get back into the cross street design that you see here, that there's a cross street here going through here, I will have to make this area a little bit bigger, and then I could go back to building zones areas 5 by 5 and by 5, and in between having either the cross street that connects two parts of the city, or having the off ramps and on ramps connecting the parts of the highway. Now over here I do not seem to have extended this cross street, but yeah, as you can see it goes across street, a ramp, across street, ramp, cross street, ramp, and so on and so forth, all the way to the end of the city. Here I could keep it, and I could also move it a little bit further and have the ramp about here and have this cross street moved a little bit over here. The way to do this would be to move it underneath the highway, and it seems I could move it a few spaces, but let's see just how much would that be. So if this next one is the offices 4 by 4, like so, the next one would be of course the residential area, and so if that one would be 4 by 4, I could exactly move the street by 2 spaces, but I don't particularly like it that a street goes through a residential area. I much prefer the residential area to stay compact, like in here that I made it. So I would like to actually move this cross street a little bit closer. In order to do this, I might have to use up a little bit of space here, like that. Actually no, that's not gonna work. It should go like this, and now this thing is gonna give me a little bit of trouble, although I think I could get it over here and then connect. Let's see if that's at all possible. No, there are pillars everywhere. Good question how to pull this off. Let me just think about this for a second. So like this, and this would be disconnected, and then bring back the railway through here if somehow possible. So a pillar would be here, and excellent, this will work out. I was hoping that it would, and this one goes down, and there we go. So now instead of having the street be through here, I can have it be here, and then the residential area can be built on the right side of the street. There we go, and just bulldoze these. So yeah, the difference between the areas is just where the first ramp was. Here it was a little bit later, here it was a little bit sooner, so the street itself had to be a little changed. Now it's a good question, is it... oh right, before I go into that, you can see that the industry is already saying the taxes are too high. So like I said, the industry will not take taxes being at 13%. The offices though, are they already yelling taxes too high? Yeah, they do. So as you can see, you just cannot force them, at least not in my city, to pay for taxes at 13%. 12% it's fine, but 30% they will not take. So how about the residential areas? You can see why I am using this tactic to have two residential lines of 4x4 across each other and then empty in between, because I want them to keep building buildings 4x4, because these buildings take the highest amount of stims. If I allow them to have a full zone, then they start building the small ones sometimes, and I do not particularly enjoy that because they fit fewer stims. I like a huge building that will take 25 households and be 4x4. So that's pretty much the design for this part of the city. I have of course added these incineration plants over here to the left, 2 of them, over here to the right, and here to the bottom there are 2 more. The water is still being drained out from the lake, and it seems I can pretty much drain it forever because my marker tree is still showing that the water is almost at the same spot where it has always been. And the interesting thing is that after using the Eden project monument, the pollution is so low now that I am not creating any when it comes to the drainage of sewage, and you can see it's all clean. There's no sewage pollution over here in the area. Although I'm not particularly sure is this water 100% pure, and if I were to put an intake for water here, would it show a little bit of water pollution, and because you can see the building is brown but the water is totally clear, so I'm not particularly sure that would be wise to test out. I've also had a small problem again with the trains. This is why I have reduced their budget down to 50% again, because they were giving me trouble when they were supposed to go through the railway system, and they were taking up huge amounts of space, with the problem of a train getting stuck in here. You can see that here I made them these intersections big enough to take a full train, and so the train can't get stuck, while over here I had to redo this thing as well in order to make it big enough for a train to fit and not be able to stop the intersection. But as you can see, there still seem to be a lot of trains here, and even at 50% budget there's a huge line of trains. Not sure exactly what's up with that. I guess they're just coming in from so many different directions that they sometimes make a problem. And while on that subject, you probably noticed that I do not actually have train stations in this newest part of the city. Now my plan was to include them and to have one in here and one in here, but what I noticed while building this area is that there aren't really that many trucks that are bringing in the actual goods, I mean the goods I produce locally, so that many products that are used in the industry. There are, as you can see, trucks here colored in different colors depending on what they're importing, but you will notice they do not create that much traffic. Most of the traffic is just sim traffic, and the trucks that are exporting are also not here. So most of the exports seem to still happen through the railway and through the actual harbors that are already built, and they're not even used that much. I mean, look at this strait here, or this one here, empty. Look at these two here. There really isn't that much traffic using these. Look at these two. Do you see trucks on them? Nope. And do you see a lot of traffic here? Not that much. And also over here, there are no conga lines or anything of a huge number of trucks using them. So they do still import a lot. I mean, you can see this ship is 96% full, and the next one is probably 100. Yeah, there we go, because of the large import. But they don't seem to take their imports through the trucks that much, and so I decided that if the trucks aren't being used that much, I might as well let them be used here and not have to use up so much space for the cargo train terminals. Now this doesn't mean that I won't maybe add a cargo train terminal here and have them be able to go underneath with some streets and then be able to export through here, but in the actual city here I didn't want to include any. Over here, like I said, it's too hilly for making any zones, so I might make it some sort of an area for the cargo, and I really haven't taken a look. Could I actually have a cargo harbor here? No, no connection to a route. So yeah, there's no route here. So I could just use a cargo train station here. I have it connected underneath the highway for them to be able to export. Now there seems to be a lot more sims here, and the traffic is even despawning, as they do seem to be creating problems to each other. Why are you both trying to use the outer lane so soon? You could drive on the middle lane, you know. Interesting. Wonder what's set up in the lane manager for this lane. Yeah, just going straight, and yeah. Wonder could I force it to go, well, if you look at it from here, to go to the left. Would that force them to use different... Why is this changing colors? Interesting. Would this force them to use the left lane instead of using the right one and blocking the traffic from the other highway ramp? Like I was saying, these are just the sims that are moving in. You can see that I have plus 500, and I have moved in around 10,000 sims that are new to this city. You can see them here building homes. And I wonder, has this area down here started being used up as well? Yep, we can see new sims being moved in here, building buildings. And now I can put in the new 4x4 buildings in here. So as you can see, the population will go up and down, and in the tens of thousands, because the city is in constant flux and change, especially now at high population numbers. The changes go into the tens of thousands by a few minutes when playing on speed 3 and 2, because speed 3 and 2 are pretty much the same when you get to a high population number. And you can see I have a demand once again for residential zones, and so I will keep building up over here. Could even place those services I was talking about in here as well. So that's pretty much it for this video. I just wanted to give you a status update on how the city is progressing. I will be adding some public transportation here as well, just like I've done in here, and I have a line connecting these 4 parts. Here I will probably just be taking this yellow one because it is the one connecting these 2 parts of the city, and I will just draw some additional stops from here into these areas, and that will take care of any connections between these 2 parts of the city. Down here, fitting the same stations that are already being used. Come on. And in here. And so you can see these parts of the city can be easily connected to each other without much issue, with a dedicated bus line that connects just these areas of the city to each other. Like I said, I wanted to give you a status update, and so you can see what's going on, what's new, what have I changed, what's the design I'm using, and so you know how I'm advancing. I know it takes quite a long time to actually reach a high population, so I'm trying to shorten the time that I spend in these videos just showing you the same gameplay. I want to show you just the changes, what's new, what's happening, and then you can watch the video in a shorter amount of time as well. I'm trying to keep the format down. This video itself might be a little bit longer because I just had much more to show you than in the previous ones. So that would be all for this video. Whoops, just before I go, I did not tell you about the parks. I'm using the system where I have one large park in the middle, one small on the right, one small on the left, and then in between them they create good enough coverage that I do not have to add more parks than this. I think this one will work out if placed here. And by using the Parks and Recreation policy, you can see this gives excellent coverage and does not take too much cache or too much space. So 310,000 population at the moment, again going down a little bit, but probably gonna go up again a little bit later on. Thank you all for watching, and please stay tuned for more.